Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, our show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, transfers, matches, etc., etc. And today dropped this evening. I wasn't planning on doing a show for the rest of the day. I was going to try and do a show or rather do a day where I only did 2 shows instead of 3 like the last few days. But no, I'm not allowed to do that because Arsenal news never sleeps, and neither do we. And as soon as it drops, we're going to give you that reaction and get you guys chatting in the chat box as well and getting your thoughts on all of the latest Arsenal information as well. And it's quite a big story that's dropping right now because Daniel Ek, the man, the co-founder of Spotify, and of course has been in the news relating to Arsenal a lot recently. If you're not aware of the situation and you've been living under a rock for the last however many months, Daniel Ek has been saying since the Kroenke out protest, when he publicized on social media that he was willing to invest. He went on to, I think it was an American TV station, and he basically turned around and said that he's very much interested in Arsenal. He's a fan of Arsenal. We then came to learn that the likes of Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry, and Dennis Bergkamp were forming a consortium with him, and there was rumours that there was backing from elsewhere, and that a bid was made to the Kroenke ownership, who, by the way, had already at this point turned around and released their statement saying that they had no interest in entertaining any future offers for the club. And believe it or not, that bid went in. There's a lot of people kind of chatting over the weeks. I did find it, well, before I get into the main news, I will say I found it very funny how the amount of people that were calling out Daniel Ek for the bid for not coming in or for not being publicised yet. And those same people were the people retweeting and saying that these things that happen successfully go on behind the scenes. You never hear about these sorts of things. But as soon as actually that is the route that they take and they do it behind closed doors, all of a sudden we want to hear what's happening. Ironic. Anyway, let's go on to the main bit of news, which is that Daniel Ek has now tweeted. If you have not seen this already, it's a very popular tweet, as you can imagine already. Nearly 10,000 likes, 2,000 odd retweets. And he has released his own statement saying that there has been inaccurate reports emerging saying that there had been no bids made by him for Arsenal Football Club, and he has rubbished those reports. A bid was made, and he says, I think it's important to correct the record. This week an offer was made to both Josh Kroenke. Interesting how it says Josh Kroenke and not Stan Kroenke is the first thing I will say. So the offer was made to him and their bankers that included a fan ownership representation at the board and a golden share for the supporters. They reply that they don't need the money, which is something we'll come on to in a bit. I respect their decision, but remain interested and available should that situation ever change. So as we were aware, any offer that was going to be made for Arsenal by Daniel Ek was going to be kind of left on the side, left on the table. You can reject it, but should you ever want to change your mind, the offer is there and ready for discussion. And this is obviously a huge piece of news because it effectively takes what's the best way to describe this is that it scuppers any hopes, plans for that change to occur. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. This should not be a surprise at all. I will say that out now. If you were thinking that Daniel Ek was going to do this, and I completely forgive anyone for having that creep into their minds that this was possible. There was always a bit of my mind when we saw the Super League collapse and how fans reacted to that. There was a bit inside me that thought, wow, maybe just maybe fans can have that power. Maybe there is an element of that. But the difference between that and this is obviously very, very different. This is a company that is owned by the Kroenkes, and they don't need to sell. I brought this up on a previous point. I said, for a billionaire, I think I can't remember what Stan Kroenke's worth is or what their worth is. Stan Kroenke net worth, let's check it. So we're up to date with the amount of money this. $8.2 billion, right? That's how much he's worth. What is the difference for an 8.2 billionaire between that and an extra 1.8 billion quid? What's the difference to them? Nothing. It doesn't make any... When you're speaking in the realms of this amount of money, it means nothing to them. That difference... And that's why this is so impossible to change. The only way this changes is if they want to move on from Arsenal, which they have no reason to do. It doesn't need to. It's beneficial for them to have the club in their portfolio. It's as simple as that. And that amount of money is just inconsequential. I saw a few people saying, well, they're going to need to up the bid. It's not going to go up because they doesn't matter how much you put it up by. They aren't going to accept it. They are not going to accept any amount of money for Arsenal and no one's going to offer the amount of money that may make them change it, because Arsenal isn't worth that amount of money that it would take. It's just not worth the amount of money that you would need to bid for Arsenal for them to accept that deal. And I tell you, it's just, obviously it's frustrating. Obviously it's really irritating when you know that your club's in the hands of the wrong people. But the fact that they said they don't need the money. And what else I will say about this is that I have absolute 100% respect for the Kroenke Out protest, of which I have put my support towards as well. We can do the protests. We can do whatever you like. You can go against them in any way, shape, or form. But it is a myth. It is a dream world, a fantasy, to believe that not buying anything, that not going to games clearly is going to change anything. It doesn't. It's not going to change anything. I hate to be a downer. I hate to be that guy that has to be the guy that's not going to whip up your hopes and is going to try and lie. It's not going to change. It's just not going to change. The only way this changes is if they decide it changes. I hate to be the person that has to break this news to people, but it's just unrealistic to believe that it will change. It really, really is just unrealistic. And that statement tells you, the statement tells you by saying that they don't need the money. That's all you need to hear. That's all you need to learn at all. And Neptune in the chat says, anything is possible. You're right. You're right. Anything's possible. I can turn water into wine. Anything's possible. No, it's be realistic. Just be realistic about this. It's not gonna change. It's just not gonna change. We can keep up the protests. We can keep doing Kroenke Out. We can keep doing all of that. But after this amount of time, and the amount of protests and the amount of banners and how far this club has fallen, which is into absolute mediocrity under this ownership, to the point where we were being touted as relegation rivals at the start of the season. And yet there's no sign of change, no sign that this is going to change at all. This summer is important for so many obvious reasons. We've heard lies. There's been lies. I mean, the AST was lied to when the whole thing started, when it was taken over, because they were told there was going to be regular kind of meetings between fans and the boards. That's not happening. We're being embarrassed by Tottenham Hotspur, who have put fan representation on their board ever so recently. And yet Josh Kroenke turns around to us at the meeting and says that he sees pros and cons to fan representation on the board. The cons being the actual representation itself. That is the only con. For them, fan representation is the con. That is the negative for them. It's just anything else involved and hearing anything more than we already do. It's a horrible situation to be in as an Arsenal fan. It really, really is. And that's why I hate, that's why I've really disliked a lot of people on social media today when people are talking about buying shirts. That's people's right and their decision if they want to. And I've seen people gunning for them, absolutely gunning for people, saying that you're not helping us trying to get this manager, trying to get this owner out of the club by buying shirts. One, you have no right to tell anyone what they can and can't do. If they want to buy a shirt, they can buy a shirt. It's their choice. So don't tell people what they can and can't do. Secondly, it makes no bloody difference. They don't care about people making sales or buying shirts. It doesn't matter. One, there's a few reasons why. One, they don't need the money, as they've said. Two, the global fan base, because Arsenal is a brand, is still going to buy shirts. People are still going to buy shirts because for a lot of people, and knowing a lot of people that live in other countries, this is the way that they connect to the club, and they're well within their rights to do that, and you shouldn't chastise them for it either. It's just not going to happen. So do not go out onto social media and start lambasting people for buying a shirt or buying merchandise or whatever. I had someone tell me today I should look to buy a shirt through different sources. And the amount of times I asked what this source is clearly was some sort of shady route to avoid paying it through the club. I'd just rather buy it from a legitimate source and get my shirt if I want to buy a shirt. They're not going anywhere. I want them to. Trust me, just as much as you do. I want them gone. I want them out. As much as the next person. But I'm just a realistic person. I'm not going to be an optimist in this area and go, I hope they go. I feel like they could go, because I'd be lying to you. I feel like if there's one thing that we've built up on the channel over this amount of time, it's that I tell the truth and I'm as honest as I possibly can be with you guys. And I'm speaking realistically. They're not going anywhere. They're just not going to go anywhere. Right. I said I'd get your thoughts in the chat, so let's do it. Oh, dearie me. Steve says, Tom, you're telling people what they can and can't say. That's hypocritical. No, I'm not. I'm telling people not to tell people what to do. I can see why you might think that's hypocritical, but I'm telling people it is wrong to start telling people what they can and can't do. You shouldn't do it. Have your opinions. If you think that I don't think people should buy shirts, that's fine. If you want to put on social media, I don't think that people should buy shirts because I think it goes against wanting the Cronkies out, that's fine. But as soon as you start tweeting people directly or tweeting out these words of saying, if you buy the shirt, you can't be Cronky out. Nah, I'm sorry. It's not okay. It's just not how the world works, unfortunately. You're living in a dreamland. Omar says, Tom, let's be honest. No one is surprised. Cronky was never going to sell. Yeah, they weren't going to sell, mate. And you can tell, like, I'm clearly frustrated by this. You can see I've been pretty calm over the last few weeks about Arsenal doing transfer news. Like, even when we were at our lowest point and we knocked out to Villarreal, I sat here on the channel and we did 4 shows within 24 hours because I enjoy doing this. It's a hobby. It's / my job, and I enjoy doing it. And I love the club, and I'll make videos about Arsenal, write about Arsenal continuously because I love it. But it doesn't mean that I do not feel the emotions and the frustration and the anger around the situation. Hence why you can tell from my emotion right now. I've had a decent afternoon, watched Leicester absolutely batter Chelsea, and it was wonderful. Really enjoyed that. But the ownership, this side of things, it just makes you angry. It just makes you frustrated because I'm a realistic person that will tell you that I don't think they're going anywhere, and that's proven to be right. So you know what it is. Brandon says, Usmanov and Ek nothing but make themselves heroes. Let's do this side of the argument. Daniel Ek, this is a huge publicity kind of boost for him initially. The amount of Arsenal fans I saw going, go buy Spotify premium things. And there was a few jokes in WhatsApp groups that I was with. It's all fun and games to have a joke about this sort of thing. But actually, no, people started campaigning to get Spotify premium subscriptions to help with the takeover bid. One, you think that that's going to make a difference to his fortunes. But this was, it does come across that way. It was like, it was gilded in this way to be too good to be true. Too good to be true. Let's get Thierry Henry. Let's get Bergkamp. Let's get Vieira. Let's say that we're going to give you a golden share, fan representation. We're going to give you everything you want because we know and they know that they aren't going to get this. The Cronkies aren't going to accept it. But it is very, very good to play the hero. Very, very good. And what is also funny is that what I'll say is that whilst I said at the start of the show that I did find it quite amusing how many people were calling Daniel Ek or anyone to publish anything about a possible bid. Where was this bid? You were so vocal about it at the start. Where's this bid? What are you chatting now? Which I thought was a little bit embarrassing. But now that we know the actual situation, which is what you should always do, wait until you know the facts, which is what we've done. So I've not sat here and made any shows about where's the bids and all this. I've waited until the actual news has come through, that you have to turn around and say that when the bid came in from Daniel Ek, which he's now been forced to publish information, and it comes across very salty. Let's be real. He's talked about inaccurate reports, and he's like, it's important to correct the record. Like, he's all talking about being open and honest and all of that. But again, playing the hero, trying to get fans on board. Like, I wanted him to buy the club as much as the next guy. Don't get me wrong. I'd much rather him in charge than the Cronkies. But if you can't see through the red and white shirt that Daniel Ek is wearing, theoretically, to the businessman behind him, and you see what this has done and the publicity this has brought to that side of things. I mean, how many people genuinely had even really heard of Daniel Ek before this happened? Because I was very well aware of Spotify, but I barely heard of the guy. I don't think I'd ever heard of the guy, to be honest. I'm not that into my finances, so I didn't really know much, and I'm betting a lot of money on the fact that I'd say that 90% of people also weren't that aware of who this guy was. But now he's prime hero number one amongst the Arsenal fan base. It must be very nice to be in that position. But yeah, it's we'll have to watch the share price, I suppose, of Spotify and see how that goes. By the way, Spotify are not the best company in the world. You should actually do a little bit of research into what they do to their artists, and you want to get a little bit of an education on that. Gogo says, Ek got us all in thinking he wanted it, but it could be a ploy from the Cronkies themselves. What did they discuss with the fans when they had a meeting with them? Surely it should be on how to team up. I mean, they talked about, I mean, that's the thing, is that I've seen the meeting between I've rather heard the meeting between the Cronkies and the fan representations in the fan forum they did. I've heard it, and they made promises. They've said things like, we're going to do this more regularly. We're going to hold more fan interventions, if you want to call them, more fan forums. We're going to speak to you. We're going to consult with you. We will consider fan representation on the board. We're going to consider all of this. We want to rebuild the bridges, rebuild the trust. It's all words until it changes. It's all words. Absolutely. Absolutely all words. So don't get your hopes up. That's all I'd say. Do not get your hopes up at all. Because until actually things start to change and be different, we will hear this from Arteta in the media, in the press conferences, telling us that we're meant to be, he's excited because there's loads of resources, excited about what we can do this summer. Do something then. I want to see people in before the Euros start. I want to see you making bids for Basuma. I want to see you bringing in Max Aarons. I want to see you getting in these guys. I want to see you getting out the deadwood, make changes, overhaul the squad. If you want to be ruthless like you're telling us in the market, then do it. Don't sit there and spout words. We want to see actions. And that's all we get at the moment as Arsenal fans, not only with the Cronkies, with Daniel Ek's actions. I mean, he's put a bid in that was going to get rejected. Congratulations. If I go into a shop and try and buy a Freddo for 10p, I might have been able to do about 10 years ago. But if I say, I've only got a 10p. Can you take my Freddo? No, because that's not how much it costs. Oh, dear. I'll go outside, show my mates. I tried, guys. I tried buying a Freddo for a 10p. Doesn't work that way. You're going to get no clout from Arsenal fans by doing that. Well, actually, that's a lie. You probably will. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. Look what he's got me doing. I'm talking about Freddos. This is what this club does to me. It drives me insane. Deary me. Deary me. Io says, you can't say that Ek just did it for publicity. Of course I can. Of course I can say that. I can say what the hell I like. Two, it is obviously that is very much a point of view that has legitimacy to it. It's not a ridiculous statement to say this wouldn't have been a publicity stunt in any way, shape, or form. I've got no evidence, absolutely none, but there is certainly no evidence to suggest that is ruled out completely, that this wasn't done for just purely that reason. There's nothing, absolutely nothing to suggest it wasn't for that reason. So to suggest it is a completely legitimate claim. Let's be 100% real. Rampur says, I'm tired of all the false hopes, the lack of action to back them up. I want to see Arsenal active from day one of the transfer window. Ibra says, your comments about Daniel Ek are ridiculous. See, this is what I mean. He's already won. This is what I'm saying. There's already people that are colonizing the idea of Daniel Ek as a saviour. All the same people that backed Usmanov. I wanted him to buy it. Look into his backstory. I'll tell you, it's not clean. I'm sorry, but it's just, it's ridiculous. There are no good guys in this scenario. We, the fans, are meant to be the only good guys in this. We are the only ones. And you can talk about anyone coming in to do a takeover. If Dan Goatee, the African billionaire, if he comes in, Cronkies don't need the money, mate. They don't need it. They don't need your money. Why would they accept it? As we talked about earlier on, the difference between an extra 2 billion on top of a 7 point whatever billionaire, it makes no difference. Absolutely none. So why would they sell? They don't need to sell. They've got one of the biggest clubs in the world that was in its worst state I've seen it in my lifetime, and yet still considered big enough to be considered for the Super League. That tells you the stature of the club. People talk about how players don't want to come to Arsenal Football Club because of where we are right now. You go listen to people that are in the know about things. You go listen to Fab, and he'll say, as he has done, Arsenal is still very much a club that people want to join. It doesn't matter where we are in that sense. Not having European football doesn't matter in that sense. Arsenal are just so big commercially and historically that it doesn't matter necessarily. So they're not going anywhere, guys. It's as simple as that. Manu says, how can we make them sell? Oh. Look, I could sit here and play up to the crowd. I could be your Daniel Ek. I could sit here and go, right, guys, we need to protest. Right, guys, we need to not buy any merchandise. We need to do this. We need to do that. But I'm just lying to you because that's not how I feel. That's not what I assess of the situation. I could sit here and lie about it, but I'm not going to do that. So I hope you respect the honesty. He's not going anywhere, mate. There's nothing we can do. We can try our damn hardest. We can protest. We can not buy merch. We can do all this. We can try. But it's, yeah, the likelihood of this changing is so infinitesimally small. It's crazy. I hope I look back on this video one day and go, wow, Tom, how wrong were you? Trust me, I pray I'm wrong. There is nothing more in the world I'd love to be than wrong about this. I'd love to be wrong about this. But there's just no way I can realistically see that I am about it right now. I really can't. Alex Jones says, why would they sell? They will make money when we are in the Champions League. None of you will boycott the games or not buying anything. Collectively, the fan base aren't going to stop buying stuff. And I'm guilty of that too. So, because I don't think that people should give up that. Because I also think that people aren't very educated in the sense that of how much money has already gone to the Cronkies for the kit deal. I mean, we've got a £300 million kit deal with Adidas. We get £60 million a season already before anyone pays for any kits. 300 million quid is already going to the club. So there you go. There you go. Rampur says, what are the chances Arsenal will get a decent transfer budget? As I said before, look, all we've heard is words. That's all we've heard. Constant, consistent, telling us we're going to invest. We've got big plans to invest into the club. We'll do it then. That's what we want to see this summer. Prove us wrong. I'd be more than happy to hear it. More than happy to see it happen. I'd love it. It'd be great. I'd build bridges. Do more fan involvement. Show that you care. It is very, like, the likelihood of rebuilding any kind of relationship with the fans is so unlikely right now to turn us around, to make us think that this is still going to be okay, that you actually care and want to change things. That the likelihood of that is so infinitesimally small right now to turn it. It's as unlikely as them selling it. We are caught in the middle of this, just a rock and a hard place. Like if you ever seen the Simpsons movie where Homer Simpson is slammed into both a pub it's called a hard place and a massive stone. That is us. We are being swung between these two things right now as fans. That is exactly how it feels. That if you aren't following the Arsenal Simpsons Twitter account and they haven't done that, that is what we are right now. That is Arsenal in an analogy. That is perfect. Because we are in a situation where there is no way that the fan base changes its mind on the Cronkies, and there is no way that the Cronkies going to sell the club. And we're in the middle of this limbo where they can try and say stuff to make things happen. No one's going to believe it, and nothing changes. If anything, the only thing that changes is that we're getting worse, is that we're regressing, and that we're going backwards. That's the only thing that we can be sure about right now. So until things start to change, until we see investment, and until we see like accountability, ambition, a want to get to where we need to be and back where we should be, nothing's going to change. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. I want to ask you guys a question in the chat because I'm interested as a bit of a social experiment. Okay, say Arsenal, say they invest, right? This summer, Cronkies turn around, they invest. They put 200 million quid. I don't want you telling me it's never going to happen, Tom. This is a hypothetical situation. I'm curious. If the Cronkies put in £200 million this summer and we invest and we spend it well, and we compete and we're in the top four, next season, they invest again and they invest again, and they keep on investing, and they make do with the promises about the fan engagement, and they talk more with the fans, and they bring more Arsenal DNA, as it's described, onto the board. Say they do all of those things. Would it ever change your mind about the Cronkies? Will you ever not want to stop seeing them out? Can they change your mind? I'm really interested to know. If they can't, explain to me why. Why can't they change your mind? And secondly, obviously, if you do think they can, tell me why. Can your mind ever be changed on the Cronkies? I want to know. I'm really interested. Really, really interested. A lot of people saying no in the chat box so far. It is an absolutely dreamland hypothesis. It really is, but I'm really interested. No, years of neglect doesn't make up for it. Nope. Never, no. Everyone's saying no. We're seeing a lot of no's. Nada. Arjun says, I would change my mind. So there you go. There's a difference of opinion. Over 10 years of mismanagement, says Neptune. Darren says, don't make me laugh. Oh no, this is dreamland, hypothetical situations, just to see if anything would change people's minds on this scenario. Tim says, Tom, this is much better. I guess you took the chance to have a Jimmy after your Max Aaron's video. You was talking so fast in that I thought you was busted. Yeah, I must have been, clearly. I don't know. Was I really talking that fast? I didn't realise. K Maguna says, you have to say yes, Tom. What you described is them understanding the error they raised. Forgive but never forget, which is also a decent way of putting it. No, Dan, I'm not okay. I'm not okay at all, mate. Really, really not. I'll take that Freddo. It says doubling Guna. I love a Freddo, yeah. Dear me. Right. I don't really know how to phrase the next question then, because if what I'm telling you is, if what I'm saying is, and people saying they have invested, do more research, because even if they have, it's minimal, guys. Like we're talking, it's not changing anything. It's not changing anything, and it's not just about investment. I'm talking about more than that. I'm talking about accountability. I'm talking about better decision making. I'm talking about bringing in people that know the club. They're getting fan representation, communicative values with the fan base, doing more fan forums, consulting fan kind of fan-led sort of situations, be it the AST or whatever, but more of a connection. I'm not talking about just investment. I'm talking about that and everything else that this fan base wants. The golden share, if you want to describe it as such. I don't know what the right school of thought is. I don't know what the right way to think about it is, because I'm so torn in this hypothetical situation of saying, if they follow through with their actions, if they start investing, if they start communicating with the fans more, doing more fan forums, if they put fan representation on the board, if they add more Arsenal DNA into the structure, be it through personalities or just through their actions, if they start doing things better, if recruitment gets better, if they start sacking and hiring managers based upon performances after deserving to be sacked, which I felt Arteta was after Thursday, then if that's done continuously, and if they completely change their ways, is it the right thing or not to change your mind? Should you be open to having your mind changed? To be honest, I don't really care about Stan, because for me, Stan is like, Arsenal isn't Stan's. I look more towards Josh. He's clearly the one that's involved, clearly the one that's being vocal. I don't care whether it's Josh or Stan. I'll be real. I think that's something that a lot of fans maybe put too much emphasis into. I don't care who it is. They're both as much of the owner as anyone else. Josh is going to inherit all of this. He's the one that's doing all the Arsenal stuff. And if you saw from Daniel Ek's own statement, he doesn't name Stan Kroenke in all of this. He names Josh. Josh is at the forefront of the Arsenal ownership. And that is it. Stan's not involved. He's just purchased it. It's basically like a present to his son. Merry Christmas, Josh. Here's Arsenal Football Club. It is effectively that. Josh is in charge. He is the guy. He is the one. He is your target. Stan doesn't care. Stan, it's not even, effectively, it's not Stan. He's given Arsenal to his son at this point. He is just a figurehead of KSE. That's all he is. Josh is the man that you need to be pointing your target at. because he's the one running the show. And he's getting away with stuff right now because all of your energy is on his dad. He must be loving it inside. Sure, it's his dad, so you don't want to see your dad getting a load of flack. Sure, whatever. But he must be buzzing because the focus isn't on him. The focus is on Stan, when actually this whole time it is Josh. But anyway, as I said before, it doesn't matter because it's the whole point of this is that the ownership are the ones that have got to change our minds. So, and they have to do that by doing all the things that they've said and acting upon it immediately, not over time. I want to see change this summer. I want to see them doing stuff that's different. Is my mind open to being changed on the current ownership? I think I'd be an idiot if I said no. If my mind's not open to change, what's the point? If what's the point in investing anything in investing any time in Arsenal, investing any money in Arsenal? What's the point if you are not open to having anything changed? But right now, they should be gone. Don't get me wrong. No, this isn't a Kroenke in thing. They should be gone. But the whole point is that they've said all of this stuff. They've said all of this. They have to act on it. If they don't act on it, it's just that then I'm a fool. Absolute fool. So, it's just a really difficult situation to talk about because we just don't know. And football moves so quickly, and there's and we do so many shows every single day, and this can change so fast. But we just need to see a change. We just need to see a change. They probably won't. History tells us nothing's going to change. But yeah, there you go. Ola Donkey says, Tom, you are a stubborn pessimist who gives up and eventually you start asking us to support. I mean, I've not done that once, so you can go do one because I've not said that at all. See you later. If you want to try and misconstrue what I've said, do that. That's fine. You do you, but you won't be welcome here. The point of the fact of the matter is that right now they should go. 100 million%. Let's put a TGT mission statement out. Right now they should be gone. Done. Kaput. As an ownership, they've been dreadful, terrible. They don't deserve the football club. It hasn't got anything to do with what I associate with Arsenal. The difference is that I'm saying, and I'm putting forward the hypothetical situation, all these things that they've said in the fan forum, the apology after the Super League, saying they will do more fan representation, fan communication, all of that bollocks. And they will have big plans to invest. If they do that, if they go back and they do that and they follow through with that and they do it every single summer, and yet say if they do that for the next 5 years and they make good on that promise, and yet people are still sitting there going, yeah, but no. And what's the point? Like, I really struggle with that. Maybe someone can come and tell me, but I really, really struggle with that. To find reasoning of why you would ever commit to continue bothering with Arsenal if you're not willing to have your mind changed over the situation. I do struggle with that. I really do struggle with that. I invite, if you want to come on and have a debate about it, do hit me over in the DMs on Twitter at the Gooner Talk TV. We'll have a chat about it because I'm a bit fired up, so I'm willing to have a bit of a chat. Oh, dearie me. DMs are open at the Gooner Talk TV. If you fancy coming and have a chat, I will have to vet you first, though, so just bear that in mind. Matt G says, there's a big question coming in. Here we go. Here we go. Think says, Tom, I can't believe you said you had 100% certain that the Kroenkes are going to invest 500 million every summer from now. Also, that you were related to Stan Kroenke on his mother's side. It's revealed. I'm sorry. It's all out there. I'm sorry. This whole time I've been a Kroenke in disguise. That's what it's been. Cayman says, what you described is everything we want and need. How could anyone say no to that? That's what I get. That's so mind-bogglingly stupid. Is that I put forward a hypothetical situation where it's just like the dream scenario, and still people are like, no, don't want that. I just want you gone. I just want you gone, mate. Don't want anything to do with you. I just want to see you gone, which is crazy. It's mental. It's ironic because the same stubbornness that is costing us the position in the league is the same stubbornness to not being open to that, having your minds changed. Oh, dearie me. Who's next in the chat box? Alex Jones says, imagine dishing out personal attacks based on someone's opinion. Stop crying and respect opinions. Our fan base is a disgrace. It does frustrate me, Alex, so often. You see it online every single day. The whole stop online abuse is such like if you asked me in a split second, what would I rather? Kroenke's gone or online abuse to be over? It's not even a debate. Stop online abuse. So much more rides on that. But people can't seemingly have an opinion without being attacked. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. And what's even more so is that I offer, the amount of times I offer and say, we did this back in like January when we hold the debates about Arteta, saying about, I'll have a chat with anyone about Arteta out. We'll have a debate and that. We'll do it on this. And I'm really interested to get kind of people's thoughts. No one calls you up on it. Never, ever, ever. Absolutely never. Mike says, what does showing they care mean for you? Good question, Mike. And Mike, by the way, if you want to come on, let me know, as I know you've been on before. So send me a DM if you fancy jumping on. Hands-on approach with who they hired, speak to fans more, invest their personal money, and no longer operate as a self-sufficient model. Showing they care is it's a very difficult question to obviously answer, because to show that you care is obviously, it has to be done over a long period of time. It's not done in split seconds. If they invested 200 odd million this summer and they did more fan forums over the summer, does that mean they suddenly cared? No. Trust is earned. It's not suddenly bought straight away. It would take years to get this situation back to a recovered state where there was any kind of appreciation. But the whole point of saying forgive but never forget is a very, very important saying, because it should not be forgotten what's happened previously. It really, really shouldn't be forgotten whatsoever. So yeah, that's fine. In terms of, but I'd love to know what you guys think in the chat. I really, really would love to know what you guys think in the chat box about that situation. What is it for you that makes you care? So there you go. Tim says, Tom, you're online and you're politely abusing the owners. Politely. Can you politely do that? It's like killing them with kindness. Is that how it works? There we go. We're seeing debates going on in the chat, which is great. I appreciate the fact that people are debating each other in the chat. But let's try and keep it as clean as possible. Steve says, do you remember when Spurs refused to acknowledge George Graham? Well, I feel the same about the Kroenkes. No matter how much they change from now on, it's too damn late. Let me just reply to a DM very quickly. Bear with me, guys. There we go. I just realised what I wrote down. It was just all completely in caps lock and all broken English. Archie says, no, you're right, but quality costs money. First team players needed instead of Pepe level. We need proven we need to be proven over a long period of time is what we ultimately need. That's the change. That's what we need to see. Oh, we're getting DMs flying in left and right. Yes, Rahil, I'll send you the link straight away, mate. Rahil was a good friend of the show, one of our expert members. He's an absolute legend. Let's get him on. Link sent. Rahil is going to be joining me any second now to have a chat about this. Gary says, first thing to show they care is I think they need to sort out the structure of the club. Get people in that know what they are doing. Edward says, hoping for a Brighton win here. Oh, yeah, football. There's actually football tonight. That's actually happening right now. Dear me. Forgot there's actually football that exists right now. Crazy. We've got another message from Alex Jones. Hello, Alex. Are you wanting to come on? I assume you might be. Otherwise, why would you message me? Hopefully, we're going to be joined by a few guests in a second. We won't have people on for too long, but if you want to jump in for a few minutes and have your say on the situation, of course, we would much appreciate it. South London's Finest B says, I need to see continuous change from Josh, Tom, me. Oh, sorry. I thought you had me. You did see change from me. Not just one summer. We need building blocks and not empty promises for me to believe even a tiny bit a world-class scouting system in place, for example. So there you go. 100%. Thanks, Alex, for the kind message. Really appreciate that, mate. Christopher Ward, Graham Potter in. Oh, my favourite. My absolute favourite. Oh, dearie me. Always Graham Potter, always. Archie says, Inter, lol, what are you doing? This is a Cronky show and you're talking about the manager. Why are we talking about Arteta now? We can't escape it. You can't escape the Arteta out debate. It's crazy. Let's scroll up. Arsenal Granite says, on other Arsenal channels, there is so much Arteta abuse. I quit watching because the moderators let it go. Just build up the channel. Sad. I mean, I tell you, the amount of people I've had to block. And to be fair, this morning's show, which I talked about, the Granit Xhaka show I did this morning, the amount of abuse that Granit Xhaka was getting in the chat, in the comment section, where I had to actually pin a comment to that video to tell people that if you abuse a player, I'm going to block. Because I don't care if I'm blocking subscribers, because we've built a community here that respects each other's opinions. And if you go against that, you're not welcome. It's as simple as that. I will not stand for anyone abusing anyone on this channel, in the chat box, in the comment sections. No, it's not okay. You've come to the wrong place. There's plenty of places where you can find that if that's what you want. Nathan says, buying merch is just adding oxygen to a fire. Not needing money is one thing, but losing money is another. Again, with the TV deals that already deal in place, with the kit deal side of things, I see your point, mate. I really do, but I just struggle to see if that's actually a realistic thing. Here we go. Sending messages back. Ansgar says, Tom, can we support you without becoming a member? I would love to show some appreciation, but don't use Google. Mate, honestly, it's up to you in terms of memberships and stuff. Honestly, just a retweet on anything is wildly appreciated, mate. Any support to the show is already appreciated, son. And thank you, Jason, for becoming a new member. Fantastic stuff. Hopefully, we're going to be joined by some people momentarily from the chat box. It's always nice to get new people onto the show. So hopefully we can do that for a few people. Just sending some links through. Here we go. There we go. Right, so hopefully we can be joined by a few people in a second. Dublin Guna says, on any subject, we have to change our minds when the evidence changes or we're not thinking consistently. Consistency is very overrated. Depends what the subject is, Dublin, but I see what you're saying, mate. Archie says, Josh, he didn't play against Villarreal. I don't know what that's talking about. So many debates are going on at the same time at this point. Alex Ingles says, this summer is bigger than player recruitment. We need to still have fans and culture. We are joined by Raheel. How you doing, mate? Are you well? You good?
I'm good, Tom. How are you doing?
Oh, mate, it's yeah, I'm fending them off, mate. I'm fending them off.
Well, you're doing a good job. You have to, unfortunately.
Talk to me about his hypothetical scenario that I threw out earlier, because I think that's kind of got, I don't know if it's been taken the wrong way by people or they can't really get their heads around it at the moment, but when I've said about, like, in 5 years, so we have a 5-year plan, and every single one of those years, the current ownership go and they turn things around, they invest, they do the fan forums, and they do all the things that we've been promised. Does your mind change about the Cronkies?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Why wouldn't it, right? If you're an Arsenal fan and you're seeing that the club is doing well, progressing well, winning trophies, why wouldn't your mind change? But the problem, Tom, here is that they've been at our club for how long? Almost 20 years. So that's 2 decades. And they haven't shown that in the past. I think that's where the problem is. Like, fans have completely lost faith. There is absolutely no trust. So I can understand why fans they don't think this is possible. But you are right. Things can change, people can change. But it's just that they've been here way too long for us to actually believe it. So yeah. I think that's why you're getting all the hit back, because of that. It's just frustration. Like, everyone's frustrated. And I just literally, after the Leicester game, when they won the FA Cup, I watched the whole ending, the celebration, because I was so envious of their ownership and how much they care. And, us as Arsenal fans, Man United fans, Liverpool fans, we can only dream that our ownership cares even half as much as their ownership cares about their club. And look at how they've done, how their club is run. I love Arsenal, but I actually I have so much respect for Leicester. They they sell their best players, right? Remember when we used to do that, because that was the way we had to move forward. But they've done it in the right way. They buy gems and then they sell on, and they buy new. The scouting, the recruitment is absolutely spot on. They make money through sales, and they're now winning trophies. They won the Premier League more recently than we have. Now they've won the FA Cup, and who knows? They're going to. I think they'll qualify for Champions League, and who knows? They might go further in the Champions League, because you can see there's a growth. I know everyone, once they won the Premier League, I myself, I thought maybe this was a once-off. They might fall out. We've seen Blackburn do it before, but they're still in and around the top, and they have to be considered now when you talk about the
built,
big
haven't
club.
they? I mean, their ownership's turned around, and they've built from that point. They've invested. They've sold. We've sold players, but they've sold really well, and they've bought on the top of that. We're going to bring in Arjun, who is making his debut on the channel. So welcome to the show, Arjun. Absolute pleasure to have you on. Introduce yourself to everyone in the chat box.
Yeah, hi Tom. So I'm tuning in from India. So I'm a big fan of your content. You're doing some great work. So
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Right when you posted that question, right, about this hypothetical situation, I was actually surprised that I was the first one who commented that, yeah, I'd be open to change. And I was actually very surprised, because I feel that anyone, it just makes sense that you'd be open to something positive rather than dwell on the past. Because I know they've done a lot of wrong things, and I'm not for it, and I'm cronky out as things stand now, just as you said. But if they're willing to change, you always give anyone a chance to change. And if they're willing to stay accountable, and anything that they say, we hold them accountable every year, right? So if they're not doing as they claim, then we throw them out immediately. So if they're telling us that they invest and they do more for the club and bring in the Arsenal people and invest more in transfers and run the club like how it should be, then why not? For sure, I'd be open to that.
Yeah, I think it's obviously. I was surprised that I saw you in the chat as one of the first people that did reply and saying that. Rahul, why do you think people say no? Why do you think there's like? I think I know the answer, but why do you think people are so kind of like no? Even if they did all the things they're saying and they kept it up consistently for the next 5 years, there's still people that are saying that no, I'd still want them gone. Why do you think that is?
It's because their agenda is more than what the club is doing. Basically, their value of the opinion is basically on top of the hierarchy, so they don't care about what happens with the club. They want to be proven right. That's all I can see. Because as an Arsenal fan, I don't care who's the owner, who's the manager, who the players are. I started supporting from a young age of 10. I had no background to Arsenal. I just saw them on TV, the FA Cup 98 final against Newcastle. And, there's a very famous quote where Dennis Bergkamp says that it's not about the players, not about the managers. You just find yourself in there, loving a club and supporting a club. And that's how it was for me. So I've seen Wenger years. We saw Emery. We've seen players come and go. And all I want for Arsenal is to do well. So I don't understand why any agenda or any opinion is bigger than the success for Arsenal. So I think it's probably because they're driven by their agendas. But if you're doing well, people change, and I personally don't think the Kroenkes will, but I won't disvalue your opinion because you think they might, and I hope you're right. I really do, and every Arsenal fan should hope that maybe just maybe they might change. I personally don't think so, because we've already seen we've been linked to players, and then at the end it says the funds are not available. So, and if they were really to change, right, Tom, we are approaching the transfer window. Do you, I can't remember the player, but Liverpool have already agreed a deal with one of the midfielders. Is it the midfielder? I can't remember his name.
They're fighting for Konate from RB Leipzig,
right?
Defender, yeah.
So, you see, that already shows that they've planned. They know they're going for the target. You can see that happening. They've done it before. With the Kroenkes, if they really want people to change their opinions on them, they have to show actions speak louder than words. So we have been linked to a million. I know, Tom, you do a great show every day, analyzing all these players. How many of them will actually end up coming? How many do you realistically think will end up coming? very little, maybe one
Yeah.
or two.
Yeah, but the
if
thing
we're
is, like,
lucky, right?
I end up filling myself with like this false hope.
Yeah.
And I do it every single, and I'm sure both Rahil and Arjun, you see me doing it all the time. And obviously, I cover all of these players and look at these players, and you build up that hope in every season. And I do it with games. Like the amount of times I predict 3-0, 3-1, 2-0, we're going to win this game, guys. We're going to go into. I went into that Villarreal game with so much confidence that Arsenal were going to turn this around and do it. But just the club continues to just, yeah, as you say, let us down. I mean, I'm going to ask you guys a couple more questions. I'm going to have to let you go because other people are going to want to come in. But Arjun, just to get you another question before I do let you go. In regards to kind of what you want to see this summer then, and what would kind of start changing your mind, what's the minimum expectation from you?
Yeah, just one thing before.
Course,
I think you were asking about what the fans on the other side of the spectrum would be, like those who are not open to the Kroenkes changing. I think there's another perspective to it as well. I think we've been through a lot over the last 10 years, and I think some of it is irreparable according to them. Maybe it's like being, let's say, in a bad marriage and you're waiting until the point of divorce, and then you say, "Yeah, I'll be perfect henceforth." So you don't go back, right? So you have to. I think for many of them, it's crossed that breaking point, and they're not willing to give them second chances. So that was the view with. I guess that's the view with others. And with regards to what has to happen this summer, I think firstly, more than the expenditure and anything, I think there needs to be some long-term planning. I mean, like, for example, giving Willian a 3-year contract or something like that. I mean, we all know, like, as fans, we know that, that's crazy, right? Chelsea are not willing to give him a 3-year contract for a reason. And you just go out there and do something like that. And 1 year later, you're looking like fools here. So I think just some sensible long-term planning. Like even with Bertrand, I'm a little skeptical. I know it's a free signing, but again, you're not improving and you're not pushing Tierney to maybe push on further. So like I'd much rather see some effective long-term measures being taken and not plan for these short-term fixes and just go nowhere. Because every year we just cannot keep going through the cycle of having to restructure the club and being in transition. That has to start somewhere, and I think we need to invest effectively in a more long-term plan and have a proper plan and stick to it. Because I think sticking with Arteta would make sense only if you have a plan. And I hope this window they invest well. And it's not about maybe buying your 60-70 million player, but I want to see some plan there, and I want to see us fix the positions that we all know that there are holes in. We should make sure that those holes are fixed and not just make some statement signing and just make sure that the fans shut up for a while.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with what you're saying. I think your vision there is shared by so many supporters that want to see that change as well. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to say one question to each of you, which is more interesting. You don't have to answer it, so don't feel pressured into it. Rahil, are you going to be buying any kits this summer?
No, I've stopped buying for a while now because, especially I don't live in the UK, so I'm not going to spend, because for Arsenal it cost me more shipping and everything. So definitely not. I as a kid I used to love buying kits because we were good. I had Henri, Vieira, Petit, all the shirts. I've also lost a bit of attachment to the club because of the ownership and where it's gone. Like, I mean, our season's just been flat. Like now after the Villarreal game, I've been watching the games, but it's just because I can't not watch an Arsenal game if I have nothing better to do. So, but yeah, so I'll definitely not be buying anything. And like if they do well and things change, I'll definitely change my mind. But at the moment, no, definitely not.
Arjun, are you going to buy any merchandise this summer?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy it because I don't know. For me, it's a way of being abroad, being in India. I mean, I don't know. It fills me with a lot of pride just going around with the Arsenal jersey, irrespective of what happens. It's the club I support.
Pride,
I know the owners.
Sure?
No, it's not the owners that I'm proud of. It's maybe not the performances, but I'm not gonna hide away from the fact that I'm an Arsenal fan ever. So I don't know. For me, even today when you made the video, I was like, yeah, but I don't know. I just want to wear it and go around, and it's okay. I'm willing to have an argument with anyone who's putting Arsenal down.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. And at the end of the day, Arsenal is way more than the Kroenkes. It's way more than a position in a league this season. It's a historical club and something, as you say, you should be proud to wear. So fair play, mate, and fair play for telling us as well. Thank you, Rahil and Arjun. Genuine pleasure to have you both on the show, and I'm sure we will see you back again soon. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
No problem. See you later, guys. There you go. That was Arjun and Rahil. Obviously, two fantastic people giving you insight. It's what we've kind of grown here at TGT is seeing obviously the community growing so worldwide and getting these opinions on from different people is great. Hopefully, we're going to have a couple more people coming on in just a second to get them onto the show. So here we go. There we go. Fantastic stuff. Just telling me how he's impressed with me multitasking while sending invites out and hosting a show. You know, professionalism at its finest. But it's an important point to consider, isn't it? When you think about if it's the right choice to go out and buy a kit or not. And we talked about this earlier on in the show. We talked about the fact that you can go out and say, in my opinion, I'm not going to go and buy a shirt this season. I think it's the wrong decision. I don't subscribe to that opinion myself, but it's certainly something that I think is worth bringing up at different times. I'm going to bring in my next guest. I'm joined by Alex, who is a first timer on the show. Alex, welcome, mate. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you doing?
You sure? You've seen the news, right? You're still feeling okay?
Yeah. Well, as good as you can be doing at the minute, being an Arsenal fan. But no, I'm in Bournemouth, but I've been an Arsenal fan for a very, very long time. Well, I'm 22, so as long as you can be when you're 22. But
yeah, that's enough for a lifetime for some people, mate. So fair play.
Yeah, no, I think more like 30 at the minute.
Yes, I feel your pain. We're also going to be joined by Noel. How are you doing, Noel? Are you well?
I'm doing great, Tom. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Where are you coming from? Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Arlington, Texas, which is like maybe 10, 15 minutes off Dallas, Texas.
Nice. Fantastic. You see, we're going even more global now. We're going across the Atlantic this time. No, I'm going to come to you first on this, and Alex, I'll get your thoughts in a second. No, when it comes to kind of the situation you see, obviously Daniel Ek turning around saying that he's heard from the Kroenkes that they don't need the money. As a fan, how does that make you feel? Is it a defeatist feeling? Does it make you change your mind in any way? Or is there kind of a loss of hope? Or is it still galvanize you even more to want them gone?
I wouldn't say a loss of hope because, like he said, when he first stated his intention to put a bid in, I'd never expected the Kroenkes to say yes anytime soon. I personally believe that they view the club as more of an asset rather than just a project that they want to succeed at. I mean, you can see by the amount of sports teams that they own, they're just clearly amounting just a sporting empire, something that they can leverage really. So I'm not disappointed. Again, maybe in 5-6 years time, if it's still the same story, then I'd start losing hope, but right now, not really.
Alex, same sort of question to you, mate. Is it made you give up any hope at all? Or are you, if anything, are you given any hope by what we've been told to expect this summer, I suppose?
I think I've been an Arsenal fan for long enough to know that, we're told a lot most summers and it's not always delivered on. But at the same time, regardless of how we're seen as being sustainable, we have bought players in the last couple of seasons, mainly Partey, Pepe, Gabriel, Martinelli obviously is a Emery buy. But I mean, there is some form of investment, whether it be, I don't know whether that's from the Kroenkes or not, but, evidently they were involved some way in the Partey deal. But I think the main thing is, you've always got to have hope, in some way for being an Arsenal fan. Like, I know it's difficult at times, but, we're as fans, we're in a position where we can't control what goes on to an extent at the minute. So I think the best thing to be is to try and be as objective and as positive as possible, because there's no point in stressing ourselves too much over things we can't control.
Of course, and I think I've said a number of times on the show that it is important that you have a life outside of Arsenal, because this club can do a hell of a lot to you. You really do genuinely need to have a life beyond the club. It is important to have that. I'm going to ask you both the same question before I let you go, which is the hypothetical situation that I've put to a lot of people. Noel, starting with you. Say, obviously, I'm assuming both of you at the moment are Kroenke out in this moment in time. and have been for quite a while, I imagine. But if, say, in over the next course of 5 years, that they make due on all the promises they've given us, they tell us that they're going to do more fan investment, they're going to involve themselves in the fan base, they are going to do more fan forums, and they're also going to invest, and they have big plans to invest, as we're told. Noel, is there at any point do you change your mind on them?
Not really, to be honest. I mean,
Okay.
I'm a fan. I can be placated. You know, if they did start delivering on some of those promises, I guess it would be tolerable. But I see some of the things like, you know, Leicester today with their owners that have invested far less than we have, by the way, in the market, but just run the club smartly, you know, navigate the window. I'm jealous when I see stuff like that. And the Kroenkes, time and time again, have shown their intentions with the club. Recently, with the Super League, you know, that whole saga, I know what their intentions are, and they might, you know, maybe start making right decisions. Maybe you've been seeing that recently with, like, you know, the Tierneys and Gabriels coming in. But honestly, maybe it would matter to most fans, and I might be in the minority here, but the Kroenkes have made their bet in my mind, and I wouldn't really change my mind personally.
That's fair enough. I'm going to press you on it because this is kind of the opinion that's obviously different to my own. So, in say next summer, or rather this summer that we're seeing coming, we see the investment that they've talked about, and you see Arsenal obviously go into competing for the top four. So we even make it next season. The following season, we see more investment. And by the way, during this whole time, there is more consultation with the fans. They're running regular fan forums. They're making due with all those promises. And this continues, and it goes on for, say, the next 5 years, and to the point where we're back in the Champions League, or we've competed for a title. We may not have won it because it's an exceptionally difficult thing to win, but we're competing for it. I sit with you in 5 years' time, Noel, and I say to you, they've made due on all of those things that they said they were going to do. They've learned from their mistakes from the past. Do you still want them out?
I mean, I would point you towards the Glazers in like early mid 2000s. Even when Man United were still, you know, winning, you know, I think 3 titles back to back to back. Maybe they might have not complained at the time, but their colors still show. Or, you know, like we might be looking at 5 years' time, but if the Kroenkes have had, you know, substantial ownership of the club for, I don't know, maybe about 10 years now, and we've seen next to nothing, and we hope, okay, maybe in the next 5 years they might, you know, and I think we can agree that would be very wishful thinking. If they were to flip on that, who's to say that the next 5, the next 10, it won't come right back? I just think that's really wishful thinking. And if we are in that position, maybe you can ask me in 5 years' time, and I might change my mind. But sitting here now, looking at the likely possibility, yeah, well, yeah, but I still wouldn't. I would still want an owner that cares. Maybe an owner that doesn't invest as much. And on the face of it, maybe that's what Daniel Ek is. But if he cares and puts people in place, I would rather have that. Personally.
Fair enough. No, I respect you for holding firm, I should say, on your opinion. Fair enough. Alex, same question to you. 5 years' time, they've made due on all of these promises. They've invested each summer. They've continued to do fan forums and consult with the fan base, even with maybe golden shares and all of this stuff. Is your mind open to change?
I think that I struggle because I watched or listened to the Fans Trust meeting where Josh Kroenke came out and said, what I thought, you fans just want your cold, rainy nights in Stoke. And that just shows the level of sort of, you know, how astronomically out of touch they are with like what people want, because that's what makes the Premier League such a great league, and like football such a great game in general. Like, I'm a football coach, and, you know, that's what I enjoy about playing football, is like standing in the rain. And, you know, so sorry, I've gone slightly off topic there, but
no, it's fine.
He probably thinks Stoke's still in the league, honestly. Yes.
We're playing them next week, apparently.
There you go.
Yeah. But I think, like, with the Kroenkes, even if they did invest, I don't think I could see myself ever, like, forgetting about the comments that they've made, and the fact that they think that having been, you know, finishing in mediocre positions, ones that aren't representative of what we should be as a club, the fact that they still have the sort of goal to go ahead and put us in a Super League, ahead of teams like Leicester and ahead of teams like Everton, even Everton, and this season West Ham, all finishing above us as things stand. And you just think to yourself, like, how can you? Like, it's just a money grab, and you're putting yourself in a position.
Well, we've never won a European trophy. Nottingham Forest fans absolutely fuming.
and the main thing that annoyed me about that is, like, they said, "Oh, well, you want to see big games every week." I was like, "Well, yeah, I want to see big games every week because I want us to qualify for the Champions League again and play against those big teams." And with the Europa Conference coming in, the Champions League's going to be even more of a competitive. Not that I necessarily agree with a lot of these things, but that's the conversation.
Europa Conference got me.
Conversation for another day. Conversation for another day. But I think it just frustrates me to watch like the club that I love be sort of rotten. Yeah, rotten from the top.
No, I completely respect your review, mate. And I mean, both of you, to be fair. It's obviously when, I suppose, doing a show by yourself as I do, obviously you get very insular and you see a lot of noise in the chat box often. It's been genuinely impressive, obviously, with Arjun and Rahil that came on earlier. But no, it's been a pleasure, mate, to have you on. I'm sure we'll see you. As I say, I'll DM you in 5 years' time, mate, and we'll have that conversation. So, pleasure, mate.
All right, pleasure, man. Thanks.
Cheers. No problem. Alex, pleasure to also have you on, mate. No problem at all.
No worries. Thank you very much. See you in a bit.
No problem. See you later, mate. Have a good one. There you go. So more fans. We've absolutely smashed this with the debuts today, getting people on having their thoughts and opinions shared onto the show. Fantastic from Rahel, Arjun, Noel and Alex as well. So has that changed your mind? Anyway, hearing from more fans. I'm going to stick around for a little bit more if people want to hear some more opinions and get their views across in the chat box as well. But I think it's a testament to the show, if anyway, getting people on that really do know what they're talking about and can talk very well about the Arsenal as well. Gladiator Scoop says Super League moves shows how out of touch they are with the fans and that of the value of the English football. What I will say is I wouldn't generalize it as fans in general, because there are some clubs where, say Real Madrid, for instance, the supporters clubs around Spain, and there is a lot of them for Real Madrid, have actually shown their backing towards Florentino Perez. So it is important that we don't talk about fans across the whole spectrum as saying that they are all against this, because it's not true. There are fans out there of certain clubs, and there are fans of individual clubs as well, and individual fans themselves that are actually in favour of this happening. So I agree with the premise that we are certainly, and they are out of touch with what the majority of the fans want across the world, especially in England, of course, where it's still, and the UK, I should say, it's very traditionalist, of course. But when you come down to a Super League of seeing Arsenal against Barcelona every week, we're going to get smashed. Well, maybe not against Barcelona with how bad they are right now, but certainly when you're looking at other teams that are in that competition, it's so difficult to look at those leagues and a Super League that would work. But we are getting a little bit off topic, I suppose. To kind of round off the show, and to kind of put my final statement, I suppose, out as to where we are right now as a club and what this means, is that I am angry, as you've probably seen throughout, especially during the start of the show. I'm absolutely fuming with this situation. I could not hate the situation that we find ourselves in, and the hypothetical situations that we've put forth purely for experimental purposes and to try and gauge people's understanding and how they view things differently. Really important to do that. We want the Cronkies out. I want the Cronkies out. I want them gone. I don't think they are going to make due on these promises. If they do, I'll hold my hands up and say fair enough, but it's not just about this summer. It is about going forwards. It is about doing this consistently for the next however many years. My mind is open. I feel like I can have an open mind, but it needs to be proven. You need to make do on the words that you've told us, which has not happened consistently year after year after year. And we are lied to. And I, because I'm an optimistic person, always try and look for the positive and look to try and hope that things will change one day. I go into games against Villarreal praying that we're going to smash them. I try and make some sense of the 2 games we've got left in the Premier League season, staring at a Premier League table, trying to work out what needs to happen for Arsenal to get as high as possible in the table, because I live and breathe this club, as I know you watching this also do. It is just so disheartening to see the words that I knew that were going to be said. I knew what it was about. I knew that the bid was going to be rejected. I knew it was because they didn't need the money, and they don't and they won't need the money, past, future and present. They won't need it. I knew that was going to happen, and yet seeing it still just makes you so angry. And I'm sorry, but Daniel Ek's not an innocent hero in all of this either, because he was silent and had to come out of a statement because of false reports, which I do not forgive that situation either. If like as soon as he knew about a bid being rejected, that should have come out. I mean, he's talked about a bid going in. That's where I say there should be some publication there. And the fact that he's come out of a statement about it being incorrect goes to show, for me, quite a lot about that side of things. I'm not saying that it's a blessing in disguise. I'm certainly not saying that. I would have rather that it had gone through, trust me. But it does show for me a certain element of that side of things that I think a lot of people were maybe worried about as well. Thank you ever so much, everyone that has tuned in today. There's been hundreds of you, and I know that maybe we don't agree. There's a lot of things on this show that I know that I say some people don't agree with, and that's absolutely fine. You're entitled to your view as I am entitled to mine, and I feel like we always open up the floor to differing views and differing opinions. We've had people come on the show today that I don't agree with, that I don't agree with their views, and they don't agree with mine, but we've had an open dialogue and we've discussed it, and I respect their view, and especially respect sticking with your view after even me of all people questioning you as well. So absolute props to the people that came on today and had their say and had their views heard. And I'm sure it won't be the last time you see them. That's for damn sure. But if you could drop a like on the video, guys, I know it's not the best of days, but if you really could drop a like on the video, I'd appreciate it. We're going to be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. going through all the latest Arsenal transfer information. There's been a few things that have dropped today, some interesting updates on Ryan Bertrand to talk about. So yeah, it's I am. Tulip says, you seem extremely disheartened. Big up, Tom, and let's hope for the best. I am, mate. I feel absolutely broken is the right words. Even though I knew this was coming, it still hurts like hell that it's not going to change and that your fears are realised in the situation. It sucks. Absolutely sucks. And I know that you feel the same way, most of you. Pretty much all of you, I'm sure you feel the same way. So fair play for tuning in. Fair play for listening. We'll see you again very, very soon. It's been a pleasure to speak to you as always. And as always, up the Arsenal.